Let's take a couple of moments and we're going to walk through the initial setup and system setup on Pioneer's FH-X731BT. Even though your particular in-dash receiver may or may not have a CD slot across the top like this one, the on-screen and button operation is identical for the following Pioneer models: FH-X730BS, FH-X731BT, FH-X830BHS, and MVH-X690BS. So right now we're on the AM/FM radio source, so the head unit is switched on and we have power from the car, but we're going to turn the head unit off but keep power on from the car. So just press and hold the source button for a couple of seconds here. That'll switch the head unit off. And I still have the clock displayed on the radio. That's fine. You can have the clock. It doesn't matter on there. Now press in on the volume control, and that'll bring up the initial menu. We also have here the system menu. Turn one more time and we're back to the initial menu. So we'll enter the initial menu here. The first thing we see here is the speaker setup, the rear speaker setup. So this is for the speaker level outputs, not the RCA outputs. Now please note that this speaker setting is only available when you have your head unit set up in standard mode. If you're using network mode, this speaker setting is not available. And right now our rear speaker output is set to full range. If you want, you can press in on the volume control here and switch the rear speaker output to a subwoofer output. So the head unit is capable of operating a small subwoofer on the rear speaker level outputs if you want to work it that way. So that's rear speaker output is now set to subwoofer. Touch it again and we're back to full range. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is our system update. And occasionally an update will be issued by Pioneer on pioneerelectronics.com that you can download and put onto a USB thumb drive and put in right here to update the system. So let's enter into this menu, and here we can get information about the system where you can check your version number. So we'll press enter there. So the version here is 08.36. If you see a version number on your particular head unit that is lower than that, be sure to check with pioneerelectronics.com to see if there is an update available for your particular system. And we'll go back and roll over to the next setting, which is the software update. If you do have a version update for your particular system, this is where you'll do that software update on a USB thumb drive. So now we'll press the go back button, and we come around to system reset. Here we can reset the system back to its factory settings. So if you wanted to change from standard mode to network mode, you could do something like that here. You can also do a simple reset by pressing the reset button here as well. Full system reset is done within the initial setup menu. We'll roll over to the next setting, which is back around to our rear speaker output, full range or subwoofer output. I'm going to go back now, and we'll change from the initial setup to the system menu, and we'll open this. First thing we see here is the dot display. This is the dot display you see across the top here, and we can change that from the source icon to the spectrum analyzer. For right now, we're going to leave that as a source icon, and we'll go back. Roll over to the next setting, which is auxiliary on. So if you use auxiliary right here as a source regularly, you want to have auxiliary switched on. If you don't use the auxiliary input on a regular basis, you may want to switch this off. And what that means is when I press the source button over here, I will not see auxiliary as an option. But I like to use auxiliary occasionally, so I'm going to keep the auxiliary source here switched on in my source list. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is Bluetooth audio on, and this is the exact same thing. I use Bluetooth audio on a regular basis, so I want to keep this switched on. If you don't use Bluetooth audio as a source, you may want to switch this off, and when you press the source button, you will not see Bluetooth audio. For right now, I'm going to leave Bluetooth audio switched on, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is Spotify. For my phone, I like to play Spotify on a regular basis, and so I'm going to keep Spotify in my source list, just like auxiliary and Bluetooth audio. You can switch it off here if you want to. If you want to use Spotify, you got to have Spotify switched on in the source list here. We'll roll over to the next setting. If I want to clear out the Bluetooth memory of the system, I've had a number of different phones connected. I just want to clear them all out. I can do that here by pressing enter. We'll roll over to the next setting. Next up is my phone connect, and if I press here, I can choose what type of phone I want to connect, iPod or iPhone or Android phone, depending on what type of system that you like to connect and operate apps like Spotify or Pandora or the Pioneer Arc app. You need to choose the phone type here. We'll leave this on iPhone and iPod right now and press enter. And then we have to choose what type of connection we want, a wired connection or a Bluetooth connection. They will both work, and you have the benefit of charging your phone if you have it plugged in and using the wired system. Now we're going to go back here, and if I choose the Android phone type, we'll press enter there, and again, choose a wired connection or a Bluetooth connection for that particular phone type. We'll set it up as wired because we have the benefit of charging my phone when it's plugged in. We'll roll back and roll over to the next setting. Whoops, went back one more, and roll over to the next setting, which is if we choose an Android wired connection. We'll press enter there. We have to choose, are we going to play back music that is stored in the memory of the phone, so music that's stored on the phone, or do we want to control an app from the phone? So app control and memory are two different ways to operate your Android phone when it has a wired connection up to the system. Let's go back now and roll over to the next setting, which is to prompt the app to start automatically, and this is directly for Android phones. You can choose to switch this on or off here. When you plug the phone in, it can automatically start the app. And then next is USB auto on. Here's our USB port right here, and when we plug in a USB thumb drive or plug in a phone, the system can automatically switch to the USB source if you wanted to, but it doesn't have to. You could just plug in a phone and use that as a charger. For right now, we're going to leave USB auto as on. We're going to roll over to the next setting, which is where we can set the clock. If you want more information about setting the clock and different ways to display the clock, check out the clock setting video. We'll roll over to the next setting, which is our clock format, 12 or 24 hour, and over to the next setting, which is the beep tone. When I press in on the volume control, I can hear a beep tone sound. Some people want to hear that beep tone as a confirmation that the head unit understands their command. You can choose to switch that beep tone on or off right here. I will leave it on for now, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is the info display, which is the large letters that you see on the screen here, and we have a number of different things that can be displayed inside the information display area. Source and spectrum analyzer, clock and Bluetooth information, clock and spectrum analyzer. A level meter can show in there, spectrum analyzer, or we can choose to switch the whole display area off if you want to. For right now, I'm going to choose to keep the source information in that screen. So when you're done making your adjustments here to the system, you can just hit the band button to go back, or hit the source button to switch on the head unit.